This is the final presentation for Team Shapes. Team Shapes is made of two people, Elizabeth Solomon and Scott Dickerson. Deciding what kind of education to acquire has been a lifelong journey for many. It is imperative to have the right foundation in education, which is an important building block of life. Montessori education is known to have the most elements of a good education. It nurtures a child's physical, intellectual, language, social, and emotional attributes. The Montessori approach is supposed to help students perform better academically and emotionally than the traditional approach, which uses instructors to follow the same course structure for every student of the class for a specific period of time despite different developmental needs. How does the Montessori approach achieve that? The Montessori approach believes that the best condition in the class should have 28 to 35 children. It does not have a rigidly set class size. Also, it has mixed age groups. For example, a class of 24 children will have 8 each from ages 3, 4, and 5. It also has uninterrupted working cycles for as long as 3 hours for ages 3 to 6 years. Students collaborate whilst learning. One part of the class can collaborate on a project, whilst teachers give a lesson to a small part of the class. Teachers look for gaps in development and address those in lessons tailored to the needs of those particular students. Despite the rave reviews of the Montessori approach, it is not technologically compliant with today's world. This is where Team Shapes come in. Team Shapes decided to develop an app to teach shapes using the Montessori methodology. The Shapes app is progressive in difficulty. The student could move from one shape to the other seamlessly using arrows, and the goal of the Shapes app is to help students identify shapes and drop them into the corresponding receptacles, be able to identify the outlines and boundaries of shapes, and identify the different sizes of shapes.
I'd like to give you a demonstration of our new educational game called Shapes. You can access it on the internet at remadinator.com, and the link on the page is the only one is Shapes, which will access the first puzzle in the Shapes puzzle game. It's a single circle. The child will click on the circle and drag it to the receptacle. And once it gets really close, it'll snap into place and the border will turn green, indicating that the puzzle is complete. They can click on the right arrow to go to the next puzzle, which is a square. We'll do the same thing. And then we have one more single piece puzzle, which is a triangle. We'll snap that into place and go to the next puzzle, which are 3 circles, different sizes, same color. So their job is to match them up with the right size receptacle. We'll put those into the right sizes, and then the border turns green, indicating it's complete. Now we have 5 circles, different sizes, different colors. And their goal is to put them in the right receptacles. Boom. Snap them into place. And that indicates it's complete. When they click on the right arrow, it'll take them back to the first puzzle. Okay, I wanted to real quickly tell you about a couple of enhancements that we're planning on. One is when the shape gets close to the receptacle, I want something to indicate that it's getting closer and closer to the receptacle. And as they move away, then the inverse will happen. It will get less and less of that color that indicates that it's getting close. So I'm not sure exactly what that's going to look like, but so we'll work with some different ways of indicating that it's getting hot or cold. Another thing is when they move the shape, this is more about a mechanic, and it's not really an enhancement. I just wanted to show you how this works. That if they happen to touch the side, then it releases their grasp on the piece. I guess it's kind of like if they, in a physical world, if you were to start pushing on it, when you hit the side of a tray, then, and you went off the side of the tray, then you wouldn't be pushing you wouldn't be able to grab the shape any longer. You'd have to move your hand back over the shape and then grab it and drag it again. So that's how that works. Now the other thing I need to get to, a multicolored is the best way to show this. Hey, right now, as you move it, you see it. The piece is on top of the base, on top of the receptacles, and it actually is on top of any of the other shapes in the puzzle. Now, the one problem with that is that I can cover up another shape, and then I think that's that can be confusing for a child. So what I'd like to do is when they're moving shapes around, put them on the same plane. So if they touch another shape, that it'll push the shape out of the way. So they can push the shape and it wouldn't cover it up. Okay, that's just something I want to do to make it a little maybe less confusing for the child. Okay, now I want to show you the source code, which is located on GitHub. You can access it at github.com, RS Dickerson, shapes, and then under the tree master dub path. I'm going to real quickly show you the single circle source code, which is not much there. It's it creates a canvas, includes the paper.js API, which is what we're using to handle all of the canvas interactions, and then puzzle.js is the API that I developed to handle the interactions of the pieces and the receptacle and the border and that kind of thing. The palette contains the colors, navbar contains the left and right buttons, and then the puzzle single circle JS is the JavaScript that formats the single circle puzzle by creating the shapes, or in this case a single shape, and it's added to the puzzle. Okay, so first there's a background that's created using this is the paper.js API, the call, to create a rectangle which becomes the background. I'm going to add the nav bar to it, and then I'm going to create the single circle, the base, and then the receptacle, and then the actual puzzle piece itself. And that all gets, I create a puzzle piece, which is part of the puzzle API, using the piece and the base, and that gets added to the puzzle. So in this case, there's only one piece, so that's it. Then it updates the view, and then the puzzle API is going to handle all the rest of the interactions. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you about the puzzle, our puzzle game. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at the link you saw at the beginning of our presentation. Thank you.
After the Shapes app was developed, a study was conducted in Hartwood Montessori in Cary, North Carolina. In this study, there were 15 preschoolers from 3 classrooms that tested the app. After the app was tested, it was clear that all students could accurately solve puzzles in a few attempts. Students were accurately able to identify shapes and move them to their respective receptacle. Students needed 2 attempts on average with the difficult puzzles, which required them to visualize different sizes of shapes in memory and accurately assign them. That is phenomenal performance for children at that age. Also, in one of the Montessori classrooms, students were required to take a pre and a post test. After the post test was taken, it was clear that the students had learned from the pre test, so they did not make any mistakes in the post test. Also, when an analysis was done by gender, it was clear that the males outperformed the females in the single shapes, whereas the females outperformed the males in the multiple shapes, that's the 3 circles and the 5 circles. The biggest takeaway in this experiment is that children loved using the app on the iPad, and teachers showed willingness and interest in doing the testing. However, it is imperative that in the future we have advanced notice for testing so that time could be allotted appropriately for testing to take place as required. We encourage with the feedback and want to create some other Montessori apps for preschoolers. Indeed, technology has far-reaching benefits than we can imagine. Could you imagine MOOCs for early learning education? Maybe that will be in the next near future. There's so many improvements that we could add to this app. We could build in an agent into the Shapes app to learn from mistakes made to help struggling students. We could incorporate some reward system into the tool to encourage learning. And we could automatically build into the testing the ability to collect results for a survey instead of having someone do that.